What if the real risk in scaling isn't failure, but losing yourself while succeeding? There's a moment where data runs out and only your discernment remains. With Jürgen Dauk, author of the book, The Leadership Operating System, I will confront this edge, step up, and discover what it takes to hold your ground when growth tests your identity. Like this episode, subscribe to our channel, and join the conversation. My name is Arjan Visser, Human-Centric futurist, and your host. Welcome, Jürgen, to the Alt Journey podcast.
Well, thanks for having me, Arjan. Really excited to be on your show. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, I am really curious, going through the Leadership Operating System, a new book you've just released, probably years in the making. So actually, I have a question for you. So, Jürgen, when you set across leaders who are successful scaling and quickly losing themselves, what did that actually look like? What did you notice first?
So what I noticed first, under pressure, is really the fear element. In the beginning, it's sometimes a bit subtle. It feels like everybody is busy, but you can feel this element of tension when decisions are more fear-based than inspirational. And you can feel the difference between somebody who's inspired and trying to inspire you, or somebody who is fearful and just going more and more towards tracking and concentrating on KPIs rather than looking forward.
So, in a way, that feels like, for me, that feels like they have, without noticing it, put aside their vision, their direction, and subconsciously are protecting something because they're afraid that what they hold on will fall away too.
Yeah, I would say so. So what I'm seeing is this concentration on basic KPIs gives a bit of a sense of, they are fearful of losing control of direction, control of the end result. And sometimes funnily, people are losing sight of what the real goal is, right? So the KPIs become the goal rather than, supporting whether you're on the right track to fulfilling your goal. So this whole element of an initial vision, a goal that you want to achieve in the future is disappearing, and you're just focusing on more work towards are my KPIs right? And you can feel the fear and the tension, and everybody's becoming stiff. And I think the first thing you notice is that the fun is gone, right? You probably have experienced the same thing, right?
Well, absolutely. When the fun is gone, or that sense of I need to buckle up. The fun will come back, but now I need to buckle up. So parking a part of me, yeah, that's most of the times that's not the start of refining the fun. That's most of the times that's moving the wrong direction.
Yeah, and what you see following is, this whole element of we work together towards a common goal. And I, as a leader, or my leader above me, is trusting the people to find solutions, is slowly disappearing. So
Mm.
it's more than a top down. We know what to do, and now we have to work hard on doing what was said to be done.
That doesn't sound that how you as a leader operate is connected any longer to inner life. You look to KPIs for the governance instead of looking to actually govern yourself. You look to the assignment from higher up in the chain of command versus that you hold your own clarity under pressure. So how does that intersect a healthy leadership operating system with your inner life?
So That way it doesn't. I think it only works if you are working towards a goal and you are passionate, right? You know that from your private life. If you are in the zone, if you are working on something you're really passionate about, nobody needs to tell you what to do or to work harder. It doesn't even feel like work. You're just doing, what you love doing and what you're best in doing. So as a leader, it's super important that you are going one step back to the original vision. So if you are not inspired, right, how can you believe your people are inspired? If you're not able to translate your vision into a goal for the whole team, then, what are you expecting them to do? How should they make their own decisions?
The first question that comes to me, then a healthy organization looks different. A healthy organization doesn't look like an efficiency structure with clear work instructions and clear measurements. It looks way more than that it is a portrait of an expression of the leader versus just an organizational construct.
Yeah, 100%. And I think what is also important is if you have a cross-functional team, right, and you give them a challenge, right, you have a product or service and want to be successful in the market, they are probably capable in figuring out how to make that product or service successful, how to scale it. But if you want to control that all, and then you build an organization while you're scaling, that is separating sales, marketing, customer success, what have you, right? How do you envision them figuring it out together? How do you envision them making it successful? It doesn't work. So if there's a good chance if out of fear and the will to control everything, you're just losing sight of, how people are actually working, how people are functioning. And then, you lose that whole team spirit and you've built silos controlled by KPIs and cut off real people working together.
When did you realize that a healthy organization is not a template implemented according to the hotshot books on the shelf, but actually is an expression of the leader and the leadership of its people?
I think, it's a very, very good question. I think that didn't come overnight, but it was more over the years. And I sensed myself, I'm losing sight of what the original goal was. I was just translating the messages I got, gave them to my teams, tried to support them, of course. But I realized the whole life became a bit shallow, didn't feel like something is working. And then I had a discussion with my manager, and he had the same conflict, right? He was measured by certain KPIs and wanted to meet them, but they were conflicting with an overall goal that he thought he was fighting for. So it was over time that I came to realize, this isn't a working model and there must be better ways of working together as brilliant human beings.
So what does it look like to actually stay true to your human edge? That moment that maybe you even go beyond the data because the proving is not found one on one in the data like with KPIs. So when what does it look like to stay true to that human edge? And maybe even more important, when the stakes are really high and clarity is not even guaranteed.
To me, this is all about communication and trust. So what I did, and I think there was uh, the COVID area really brought something or made something very obvious. Everybody was sitting in their home office and kind of working on their own. And after it was possible to travel and meet again, I pulled my whole teams together and I wanted us as a team, not me as a manager, but us as a team to find new solutions. So I had to fight really hard to get the budget for a 3-day meeting in one location. So we brought everyone together and said, look, this is where we are today. This is where we want to get to, right? But maybe I don't have the answers. So us as a team, and there were adjacent teams, and it was a bit difficult because the org structure didn't provide for, there was sales, marketing, customer success. But I said, let's get us in a room and find solutions together. And there were some brilliant, brilliant, brilliant ideas. And of course, there were arguments around what the best way would be. But that team really brought new ideas, new concepts, and they were passionate at the end about what they have come up with.
That was a unique moment for most people in how they perceive work. And I remember when we had the first, well, working all from home experience. I talked with my wife about it from an educational perspective, and we say, what a unique opportunity to sit around your kitchen table where your kids have to do school, where you have to do your work, and together you have to do life. So now this artificial segmentation in life is, with a big disruption, over. The bubble is bursted that we can have a work and a life balance. And how much pressure does this put on knowing who I am, growing up, maturing, and dealing with it? Because I can't isolate myself anymore in a cubic where I can focus on my work simply because the noise is out. Now all the noise is going across the table, and it really forced our family to focus on what matters, not just the values and the KPIs, but what really matters to me. And it gave a huge challenge because the amount of time versus effort, well, the whole framework was gone. It had to happen in different time scale.
Yeah. Yeah,
How
100%.
did your people came back with a way more mature perspective? And some didn't, of course, because some really longed for, let's back let's go back to work-life balance and hard separation. But there must be people who had so much insights about personal growth and maturity.
So there's two things I noticed. One was everybody was getting to know each other's personal side of things much better. Because if you're just going to the office, as you say, you can just be your professional version, and then you go back home and you are the private version, a partner, father, a mother, whatever. But that came more together. And for the first time, we realized there's a more personal side to people than we usually see. So that was great. What I saw on the flip side was that it was tough for people who are used to communicate a lot to just stay on video calls. Because I personally believe there's much more to a conversation than just, the spoken word. But you can feel the people in the room. If you're a group of people, yeah, you can facilitate group meetings online, but having people in real life is, to me, still completely different.
Yeah, there is something magic in proximity. It's not only the non-verbal language, but it's we feel, we sense each other's presence in the room, and that supports a message positive or negative, but there is proven in an untangible way of what is real.
Yeah, 100%. And if you want to work on something together, I think the spirit of being really together makes a huge difference. Sometimes I feel that's forgotten in the hectic life of business, that it makes such a huge difference to meet in person and be with people.
So next question would be, what's the most expensive non-negotiable you have ever had to defend?
That is a very good question. For me, it was, when I think about it, it was really looking at the people and their talents versus just go on with business. So really understanding, this person is great at, let's say, communicating with customers, communicating internally, or this person has got a huge strength in analyzing data and coming up with results on it. I had to defend that a lot. You know, One could argue, this is a well-paid person in the company for 10 years. But if I think the person is in the wrong role, doesn't love the job that person is doing because the talents are different, it's not that easy to defend that, people are unique and that you cannot just put people into a role and think, okay, they're boxed in and they've always done that. So for me, the hardest thing was really to defend that people are different, that people are unique, and that we should treat people like unique human beings.
The first word that comes to mind is the word soul. And everyone has a different definition of soul. But when I think of soul of an organization, is that it breathes life. And what you just said about the non-negotiable, about that for every person needs to be room to be themselves, to contribute themselves, to grow themselves, and not that they are just put into a box because of a resume, credits, a track record. There's so many people out there who are really great, but hate what they do. And so that soul dimension, where does that fit the leadership operating system? And how much difference is it when you use from that perspective uh, to look at growth instead of the performance, the skill, and the hard data proving practices we are used to?
I think the difference is you can see a company as, okay, this is a profit machine with human resources. I mean, HR really brings people down to they're just a resource, like a pen or a laptop, right? Or if your whole spirit of the company is, okay, we have a vision and we have great human beings, and those great human beings can fulfill on that vision and, bring our mission to life. So I think those are the differences. And if you're talking about souls coming together and building something, that is really that. If you're just breaking that down into, oh, this is human resource, right? And every resource has a cost. And the more cost I save, the more profitable I am. It's really difficult to have an inspiring living organization that can do great things.
You already mentioned that if we reduce people to a resource, then we make them part of the process. And they're the most complex part of the process, and they're the most intuitive part of the process. So, in other words, they're the most unreliable part of the process because they can react every time different because they are aware of context, which makes we want to replace people because we go for efficiency and we cut out the soul. We've cut out the invention, the intuition, the life support. And in a way, how horrible but comfortable if we make our life more predictable. But then we cut out the heart of an organization. We cut out the soul, the spirit, like you mentioned, out of organization. And I think one of the oldest definitions I heard of the word organization, that it's, you can one-on-one replace it with a body of people. It is a body on itself, but it consists of people. So it needs to be human.
100%. And I think with the advent of AI that we're seeing today, right, this is even becoming more apparent. What I liked a lot was I was listening to an interview of the CEO of NVIDIA, Jensen Huang, right? And he said, you know, if he's hearing CEOs saying, well, with AI, we can save a lot of cost by reducing the amount of people we need to do a certain job, right? He said, those CEOs don't have any imagination because, and I like that a lot. He said, just imagine you have a lot of great people in your company, and now you add better tools, AI tools, right? Just imagine what they could build. Just imagine you have great people and better tools. Just imagine what they could build. So a CEO just looking at cost cutting with AI doesn't have any inspiration, any aspiration. It's just, you know, a manager just managing along. And I love that.
Yeah. And I think you just point now out, and as the host of the, the podcast, I could just say stupidity. Because I'll go a little bit harsh on, it's not just a lack of inspiration or imagination. You know, is looking back to when the washing machine was introduced in the household, and we saved hours of work of cleaning and doing the washes. And but it hasn't reduced the human being out of the household at all. It just released the human being to do what a human being can do really well, and that is be creative, use his imagination, connect things that are never connected before, and think of solutions and brilliance and ideas that become real, and then they're automated again, and that releases you. So that is that cycle in humanity. That makes AI not a threat. That makes AI just the next generation of tools like hammers and screwdrivers.
Or computer.
Exactly. And it needs to be supervisioned. It needs to be directed, guided, micromanaged. So you will not do it to reduce your amount of people. You will just use it to empower your people, put them on a better place that fits who they are. So they will be more fruitful, which gives a bigger leverage for your business.
Yeah, 100%. But therefore, you need to build new organizational structures, right? You need to build human-centric organizations, not task-based organizations. If you look at your organization as a living organism of great people, and then you put better tools, AI tools, into the mix, they'll produce great results. If you're looking at it as an engine, more like an engine and not like an organism, you know, you're describing a dead thing like a car or a machine. If your company is organized like that, it will stay a dead thing, and it will not benefit greatly from AI. Yeah, you can look at some processes and optimize them, maybe cut cost, but why do you exist? I mean, you can cut the cost down to zero by firing all people and stopping business. But the original idea that you had was something totally different, right? And if you look at the company like an organism, right, you need different structures. You need to think about that when you're building your organization, or if your organization is built like a machine, maybe it's time to look at, what would that organization look like if it was human-centered? If you looked at it like being an organism instead of a command and control machine.
That gives a unique opportunity, because now as a leader, you can lead your own future by stopping being the bottleneck, uh, evolve from an operator of the machine to system builder, but maybe a society builder, because it becomes, if it's human centered, it is. I imagine it is it's happening in the interaction between the people that something grows, flourishes. So, what allows a true leader actually to move forward and shift or evolve? I would nearly say shift, because it's really a different direction. Shift from being the operator to that society builder.
I think self-awareness and overcoming fear are two really important points. If you're fearful of not being enough, not doing the right thing, and not achieving your KPIs, if you're just focused on that, and if you don't self-reflect, then it's becoming very difficult to do that shift to develop into a great leader. I think it's not leadership if you're just, as you say, are an operator. Just
Mhm.
pushing narratives up and down doesn't make you a leader, right?
No, it makes you a herald and nothing more, an
Yeah.
echo. So self-awareness and fear. So fear has the fear of doing things compliant to the assignment in a way that has to go. You have to let go of that. You have to die of it. And you replace it with what you find through that journey of self-awareness, which, how could you, what could be the name for the result? Is that finding language for what who you are called to become, or called what you are called to do? Is it assignment, or is it more purpose, identity? What is found when you let go that fear of being compliant to the instructions?
I think it's if you start searching for your own passion again, then you're on a good track. Like as a child, you love to play, to experiment, and you have a passion about it. If you grow and you grow into this traditional business world, what you see a lot is people are losing their passion, and it takes them often years to find any sort of passion, right? So if you find that passion again, I think it's much easier to step over that fear element because you value that higher. But the difficulty is, I spoke to a lot of like individual contributors in companies, and what they usually think is that they've got the biggest fear of losing their job, fear of, you know, not being promoted, not being enough, not being treated well. But my understanding is the higher you go up in a company, the bigger the fear is. And what people often don't realize, even a CEO oftentimes is in big fear losing his reputation, his assignment, you know, failing, not getting the next assignment. So this fear-based culture is quite widespread. And as you say, if you want to overcome that fear, what is on the other side? Just imagine you get up in the morning on a Monday morning and say, look, what's up next is really something I do enjoy. And I can't wait for Monday morning to come.
Just reminds me of one of the older definitions of what does governance look like, and whatever size of construct you're governing, at the end of the day, it comes back to how do you govern yourself. And self-governance is that you know your reasoning, and it is supported by your agency and your appetite. And that word appetite falls in passion, but also what really matters for you, the value you can deliver to someone else. So it's the passion and the drive to add something good to someone else. And that for me always felt so different than the word stewardship. Then that makes stewardship, I'm not bashing the definition or the term, but it makes it feel like it cannot be a passive thing, stewardship. You are not the night manager responsible to make sure that the system is there in the morning. No, you are the soul keeper, and it is fueled by your passion, your appetite, your drive. Like you said, what keeps you up? Then the Monday is not a blue Monday. Then the Monday can have all the colors, whatever you like that your favorite color for the week is.
100%. And this was one of the reasons why I said I'm stepping out of the traditional job and fixed employment, right? It was convenient, right? Well paid and very predictable.
Yeah.
But I was losing my passion.
Yeah.
And when I took a step back and thought about, hey, Jürgen, what are you passionate about? What I found is, I've seen over the years and being part of non-working organizational models, right? So I was suffering by those circumstances, and I saw the people around me suffering. They hated what they were doing, right? Not all of it, right? There's elements that I loved, that the people around me loved, but those organizations were really killing passion. So when I went on this journey to find out, what is Jürgen passionate about, I came to the realization that I'm 100% convinced that there's better models where people can thrive and profit, and revenue is just an outcome of great people working towards a shared vision. And this is why I'm now, after reflecting that, try new ways. I want to help companies become better organizations for people, and as an end result, just as an outcome, naturally become more successful.
Yeah. Uh, you were afraid of losing your passion. And I guess there are also a lot of people say, but I still have my pension. So it's a bit to make it black and white. It's that tension, being human centered and taking care of your passion, even if it means that the certainty of the pension at the end is you would place that on the risk, or you will use that to invest in who you are becoming, and make a priority about who you are. That is really a complex decision, and it is fully anchored in your non-negotiables, your values. So how can you share a little bit more about how did you deal with this complexity?
I think at the end, it's not very complex. It's scary, but it's not complex. It's very easy to ask yourself, am I happy with what I'm doing? Am I passionate about what I'm doing? Is this the life I want to live? Those are not very complex questions, right? Those answers might be scary because if they mean you have to change right? You have to leave secure pathways. Then it's scary. But I don't think those fundamental questions are very complex. I think they're very easy. They're not comfortable, for sure. They're not comfortable at all. But I don't think life is that complex.
They're not. I agree with you. They're very disruptive and they are really confrontational. You can't hide. But you already, when you ask yourself the question, you already know what the best answer for you is. And that is finding alignment with who you are becoming. And your passion is such a great indicator for that. So when leaders are scaling and in a way fragmenting at the same time, what's the one thing they're usually not willing to look at?
I think the one thing is losing their control and giving more power to the people. This is something that most leaders are too scared to look at. So as long as you just operate, as you mentioned, you're on the secure path, but then you start losing yourself. So giving power to the people and trusting your people, I think is the number one.
And what you get in return is not losing yourself, but actually finding yourself.
100%. And you get much better, results out of your great people.
Yeah. Jürgen, how can people connect with you and go deeper into your work and the leadership operating system?
So 2 ways. One would be to connect with me on LinkedIn. I love to continue the conversation with people. I look for new input as well. So I'm not a teller, but a learner, and I like to work out things together. And the other way would be to go on to my website, which is the Leadership Operating System dash OS. So the leadership to my website, the leadership-os.com, which provides background on the book, as well as if you register, you can download templates, for example, to evaluate, what does your company look like? Do a quick self-assessment. Doesn't cost you anything, but, it costs maybe a bit of courage.
So it costs you everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And especially, I encourage you to do it. And all the links are in the details of the podcast. So don't miss out. And I really encourage you to check out and connect with Jürgen. So Jürgen, what are the 3 takeaways that we want leaders to remember, but also you and me want to remember?
Companies should be human-centric because the human souls are what creates value. You either lead by vision and passion or by fear, and ask yourself the hard question and do that today.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good one. Be real and not fear-based. It hurts your people, it hurts you, and it gives you fulfillment if you turn into the one who creates an environment for others to grow and flourish and do it in return for others again. Thank you very much for your wisdom, your insights. I also just want to thank everyone who joined us all the way till the end. And I trust there has been some disruptive thinking going on at your end as well. So I hope something sparked. And if it could only be your passion, then I hope you found your spark to reignite your passion I would love to hear that. So please share your comments below. Connect. And if you can't wait for next week's episodes, I also like to invite you for the ALT dialogue, the Authentic Leadership Transformation Dialogue, which is an exclusive peer dialogue for leaders who are pioneering and pondering that alt question that shapes our future, that shapes our leadership. So just connect, and I will make sure you get all the details to just join. Thank you very much.
Thanks from my side as well.